добрий день.
Hello, everyone who has joined us. This is Ukraine Media Center at Ukrinform. It is the 9th year of the war and 202nd day since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. Right now we are going to discuss the resumption of online services. We are going to speak with Mykola Rudyk, the head of the main service center of the Ministry of Interior. So let us discuss the bringing back of the online service of driver's license and how our users can use it. Hello. Yes, it is the 202nd day of the full-scale invasion. I am grateful to our volunteers and our military. The service centers of the Ministry of the Interior work, which means that we are providing services wherever we can ensure safety of our employees and our citizens. Right now, 140 service centers work in different places around Ukraine. For now, we are not working in the occupied territories in Donetsk, Luhansk, or part of Kherson, and Zaporizhia, and partially Kharkiv region as well, and in the Autonomous Republic of the Crimea. On Thursday, together with Denis Monastyrsky and Bogdan Drapati from the Ministry of the Interior, we visited Kharkiv, where the mobile service center has resumed its work in the deoccupied territory. In Kharkiv region, there is no possibility for the resumption of work of the 4 territorial service centers. We have introduced the mobile service center. The main service center has developed 2 different solutions for the resumption of work and providing services to the citizens in these territories that are living close to the contact line and were under constant shellings. One of the options is the mobile service centers visiting the deoccupied territories and providing these services through mobile service centers. Another option is also moving our permanent service centers from the temporarily occupied territories to other locations. This enables resuming the work. In this case, sometimes we have vacancies because some of the employees started working in different departments of the ministry. So for the last time, all these service centers have issued almost 203,000 driver's license. And this means almost 200,000 drivers got the chance of drive different kinds of vehicles for the first time. The cars, the buses, and the motorbikes, and they have passed the necessary exams in the service centers. Over this period, we have also exchanged almost 300,000 of the previously issued driver's licenses, and over 70,000 of those cases were cases where the drivers added new categories, which gives them the chance to drive the bigger amount of vehicles. In total, we have provided over 1 million registration services for vehicles, and in 12,000 cases, these were the vehicles of our citizens who were installing gas equipment on their vehicles. So the main areas of work of our service centers have now been described. And here are the main areas of work of the main service center and the prospects for the nearest months. So the primary task, as before, is creating the conditions under which the services of the service centers would be available in the shortest times. And thanks to the streamlined operation of different units, we are able to accomplish this goal. So there are three types of work included here. First is digitalization, which means the transition of our services to the online mode. We can already see for the nearest time the possibilities for assigning the users, exchange the driver's license, registration and re-registration of the vehicles, then ordering the registration plates. All of these services will be launched or relaunched very soon. In the conditions of martial law, all of these services were temporarily on hold because of security reasons, because of the full-scale invasion of the Russian Federation. And right now we are working to restore these services in safer formats. Thanks to the heroic fight of the Ukrainian nation, we have a much safer situation in a large part of Ukraine. And also, over the last half a year, we have developed better technological solutions. We can see the resumption of some services together with the Ministry of Digital Transformation and with the Infotech enterprise. We have already resumed the service of assigning the user through the DIA application. This will be a service necessary to the drivers in terms of the automated recording of the driving violations, because it's the driver who needs to be responsible, not the owner of the vehicle. Also, our team is working on the possibility to cancel the service of assigning the user before its term expires. Also, we are going to restore the exchange of the driver's license online. So if the person has lost the driver's license, or if their personal data has changed, or the driver's license has expired, it will be possible to get the new license through the post service. We have already introduced such a project successfully last year's fall, and it was done by the main service center and the national post service operator, and also the Infotech enterprise. We are also resuming the possibility of ordering individual registration plates. So the person now can come to the service center personally, then sign the application and select the options for the registration plate. And after that, the person has to visit Kyiv once again for physically receiving the license plate. But we are going to optimize this process, and the owners of the vehicles will be able to select the location where they are going to receive their license plate, or also they will be able to get it in the main service center as before. So once we do that, a person will order the license plate and then will get their license plate through the Nova Pošta delivery company. We are also working on the possibility to pay online through the mobile applications for the storage of license plates, for the continuation of this storage for prolonging the service. So for instance, if the person has moved to a different region during this invasion and has sold the car that belonged to them and has left the license plates for storage, they will have to contact the service center and pay for the prolongation of this service. So it will be possible to pay for this without physically visiting the location. And we are also working on this challenge, and we also consider the possibility of registration of the vehicles. We want to expedite this process, making registration available online. As I have already mentioned in my first speech after at the beginning of September, at the meeting with Sergei Krimchuk, we discussed the possibility of ensuring the proper regulations and legislation changes. Some of them have been completed already last week. I'm very grateful to our legislators who have supported our proposal, and subsequently we will have some optimization and the possibility of online registration. So on September 10th, the Cabinet of Ministers has approved a decree enabling the online services. It will take 3 months for these changes to get enacted, but let us look into the essence of this decree. The main step is separation from the expert assessment from the registration and registration services. It doesn't mean that this expert assessment will not be necessary, but it means that the procedure of reassessing the vehicle will be only available, of course, through the offline visit. It's impossible to check the condition of the vehicle without a physical visit. But the owners will be able to pick the location that's most convenient to them. Then they will do the check of the registration numbers on the vehicle, and the documents will be uploaded to the online service. It will be valid for 10 days, and then there will be several options for the owner of the vehicle. One option is to physically contact the Territorial Service Center for the re-registration of the vehicle. Another option is to complete certain procedures online. So, what is the process for the registration of vehicle in a service center and online? So we have mentioned that there will be a separation of the procedure of expert assessment. Thanks to this, the procedure of registration and re-registration will be streamlined, and we believe the time of registration will be reduced to 20 minutes in case the expert assessment has already been completed. Also, such changes will enable the re-registration of vehicles through web applications. So also this exclusion of this assessment procedure from the registration process will also enable the use of the centers of administrative centers. Of course, the expert assessment will always be happening offline, because it requires the assessment of the condition of the vehicle and also checking the registration information of the vehicle, with the purpose of identifying the veracity of the registration numbers of the vehicle and its parts and the documents as well, and finding out if there are any fake documents provided. Otherwise, the registration will be happening either online or offline, and we are given the customers the choice of how to receive the rest of the service. Also, it will be possible to apply for registration or re-registration, or also to assign a contract for selling the vehicle online. So once the administrator makes all the necessary checks, making sure that the data about the vehicle is in the registers, and then the service is either approved or declined. And also there is the procedure for the special license plates. The special regulation will provide the procedure for ordering such special license plates through the DIA portal. Other changes that are envisioned by the decree: there is a broader list of registration and re-registration services that do not imply the expert assessment. This list includes the reprinting of the registration certificate after it has been stolen or lost or damaged. Also, re-registration because of losing or replacing the license plate, or also re-registration of the inherited vehicles, unless it has been registered before 2019, and also the financial lease based vehicles. And once again, the actual assessment is always happening offline, because it requires checking the information, verifying the information and the ID numbers on the vehicle and in the documents of the vehicle, and making sure that there were no cases of counterfeiting the numbers of the vehicle and its parts. So, speaking of this service of resuming the service of driver's license, how long it will be, how long it will take for this service to be put in place? Well, we have made some steps for resuming this service. We hope in the nearest months, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, this service will be restored in full. So what do we envision? The service will be provided step by step without the need to physically contact the territorial center. The person will use the online account to apply and select their preferred way of receiving the driver's license produced by the territorial center of the Ministry of the Interior. They will select one of the locations of the national post operator, and once the driver's license is ready, they will be able to contact those locations and get their document. So we were also discussing the work of the mobile service centers, especially the ones working in the deoccupied territories. How do people learn about those mobile service centers? Where is this information available? First, we study the demand, we study the needs, and primarily in the deoccupied territories in Kharkiv region now. Through the military administration, we keep in touch with the citizens. In case there is demand, we take a decision about traveling to safer locations in the region. This information becomes available at the official website of the main service center of the region. We are also providing information about the possible planned visit in the upcoming week, so that people know beforehand about the time and locations. And also on Tuesday, our mobile service center is making one of its visits. It's been providing services since last week. So our advice to our audience and our future visitors: if you want to use a mobile service center, let's say about resuming your driver's license. Right now the procedure has been simplified. You do not need to have the medical certificate. All you need to have is your passport or your ID card. And also you need to have the copy of your tax code. So all of this is enough to restore your driver's license. If you want to register, re-register, or sell your car, you need to have your passport, your tax code, you need to have the car physically, and also the registration documents. Also, the buyer needs to be present physically at our mobile service center, and then our administrator and specialists will help them to complete the transaction. Hello. Do you have the information about the number of vehicles imported to Ukraine under the special conditions? The service centers of the interior are registering the vehicles. The importing is the competence of the different state bodies. They are also the vehicles going through certain procedures. So if it is a used vehicle, then there is a procedure of individual certification. If it's a damaged vehicle, then there is a procedure for restoring the vehicle, which goes first, and only after that the person is contacting the service center. So the number you're asking about is in the competence of the other government bodies, and we are the ones registering the vehicle later. For us, it makes no difference if the vehicle has been imported under the special conditions with no import tax, or it has been imported later or as a humanitarian aid, etc. So you also don't have the data about the humanitarian aid for the armed forces. So speaking of the armed forces, they have their own registration. They do it without us. So the procedure is different in that case. we are responsible for the vehicles used on the general purpose roads, and the armed forces, that's a separate thing. So these humanitarian aid was not registered in your service centers. If the humanitarian aid is planned to be used on the general purpose roads and highways, then yes, we are registering such a vehicle if it has been imported for humanitarian purposes. But what is the number approximately per month? In terms of registration, we can see a certain dynamics of growth once the service centers have been resumed. Later, there were some changes in the numbers, and honestly, there is some demand for this service. The service centers fully cope with the necessary amount of services, including the license plates. By the way, brief comments for volunteers or non-governmental organizations. The algorithm that need to follow for the temporary registration for the humanitarian purpose vehicles. So if it's an individual or a legal entity, they can contact our territorial service centers. They provide us the document based on which they have imported the vehicle to the territory of Ukraine. In this case, we do not require the vehicle itself. Based on the decision made by our administrators, we issue the temporary license plate, and these temporary registration documents will be valid for a year or for 90 days after the completion of the war. Thank you. Thank you for finding time to join us. This was Mykola Rudyk from the main service center of the Ministry of the Interior. Thank you so much. We believe in our armed forces and we are working for our victory. Thank you.